Imagine seeking spiritual peace, only to wake up one day and realize you've been slowly stripped of your freedom, your choices, and even your identity. What started as a journey toward enlightenment has now become a life controlled by someone else. But how does this happen? And more importantly, how do you escape? Overview. In this video, we're exposing the hidden tactics used by manipulative spiritual groups to control and exploit their followers. These groups don't just ask for devotion, they demand obedience. Through psychological pressure, misinformation, and fear tactics, they create an environment where questioning is forbidden and leaving feels impossible. Today, we're breaking down the dark secrets they don't want you to know, so you can protect yourself and others from falling into the same trap. Segment 1. Understanding spiritual manipulation. Spiritual manipulation is the act of using religious or spiritual beliefs as a tool to control individuals, often for power, financial gain, or influence. It is not about genuine faith or spirituality, but rather about how certain individuals or groups distort beliefs to maintain dominance over others. This type of control is seen across various religious and spiritual organizations, including cults, extreme sects, and even some mainstream groups where obedience is prioritized over personal growth. Often, those being manipulated do not even realize it until they are deeply entangled in the system. One of the most common tactics used in spiritual manipulation is guilt tripping. Manipulative leaders make followers feel that they are constantly falling short, whether in their devotion, their actions, or their financial contributions. A person may be told that their struggles or suffering are due to their lack of faith, or that their doubts are a sign of spiritual weakness. This creates a cycle of self-blame, where individuals internalize feelings of guilt and believe that they alone are responsible for their hardships. Instead of recognizing the manipulation, they work harder to prove their loyalty, further entrenching themselves in the system. Fear is another powerful weapon in spiritual control. Manipulative groups often instill deep anxiety about the consequences of disobedience or leaving the group. Followers are warned about divine punishment, eternal suffering, or disastrous personal consequences if they stray. They may be told that leaving the group means they will be cursed, lose their salvation, or face some form of tragic downfall. Many former members of high-control religious groups have shared stories of being threatened with sickness, financial ruin, or even death if they disobeyed or walked away. This psychological fear keeps people trapped, even when they desperately want to leave. To further tighten their control, manipulative groups often enforce isolation. This is done by cutting members off from family, friends, and external influences that might challenge the group's teachings. Followers are encouraged, or sometimes forced, to distance themselves from non-believers, critics, or anyone who might raise questions. In extreme cases, members are relocated to communal living arrangements where they are surrounded only by fellow believers and have no access to the outside world. This prevents them from hearing alternative perspectives and makes them wholly dependent on the group. Survivors of organizations like Gloria Vale and NXOVM have described how they were physically and emotionally cut off from their loved ones, leaving them with nowhere to turn when they began questioning the group's authority. Another major tactic used in spiritual manipulation is information control. Leaders restrict what followers can read, watch, or listen to, ensuring that all knowledge comes from within the group. Independent research is discouraged, and outside perspectives are often labeled as dangerous or corrupting. Many groups ban specific books, websites, or even news sources, claiming that they spread lies meant to deceive believers. Some go as far as rewriting history or science to fit their narrative, making it impossible for followers to fact-check the group's claims. By controlling the flow of information, these leaders ensure that their followers remain obedient and uninformed. Spiritual manipulation is more than just misguidance. It is a calculated system of control that preys on people's need for meaning, purpose, and belonging. It twists the very things that give people hope and uses them as chains. The first step in breaking free is understanding how these tactics work. In the next section, we will explore real-life cases of individuals who managed to escape these oppressive systems and uncover the shocking truths they were never meant to see. Segment 2. Real-life accounts. The impact of spiritual manipulation is not just theoretical. It has affected countless individuals who were trapped in high-control religious groups. These are not just stories of blind devotion, but of systematic psychological control, fear, and loss of personal freedom. Let's explore two real-life cases that expose the devastating effects of spiritual manipulation. Ryan Carey and the Geelong Revival Centre. Ryan Carey grew up in the Geelong Revival Centre, an Australian-based religious group led by Noel Hollins. To outsiders, it appeared to be just another spiritual community, but inside, it operated under strict authoritarian control. From an early age, Carey and other members were conditioned to obey without question. The group dictated nearly every aspect of their lives, from whom they could associate with to how they should think and feel. One of the most harmful aspects of the group's teachings was the outright rejection of modern medicine. Members were taught that seeking medical treatment showed a lack of faith, and that true believers should rely solely on prayer for healing. Those who dared to question this doctrine risked being shamed, punished, or even excommunicated. Relationships were also tightly controlled, with members discouraged, or outright forbidden, from forming close bonds with those outside the group. Perhaps the most powerful tool used in this group was fear-based control through doomsday prophecies. Members were repeatedly warned that the world was nearing its end, and that only those who remained loyal to the group would be saved. This fear kept many people compliant, afraid that leaving the group meant eternal damnation or suffering in a catastrophic apocalypse. When Carey finally broke free, he faced immediate rejection from his former community. Friends and family who remained inside the group cut all ties with him, leaving him to start over in a world he had been conditioned to fear. The psychological effects of such an upbringing were long-lasting, but Carey has since turned his experience into a mission, speaking out against spiritual coercion and helping others recognize the warning signs of manipulative religious groups. The Gloria Vale community. While spiritual manipulation can take many forms, some groups take control to an extreme level. Gloria Vale, a religious community in New Zealand, is a prime example of how high-control religious environments strip individuals of their personal freedom under the guise of faith. Gloria Vale operates as a self-contained, closed-off community, where members are born into an environment that discourages any contact with the outside world. From childhood, they are taught that obedience to leadership is the ultimate virtue. Strict rules govern every aspect of life, from clothing to daily routines, relationships and career choices. Those who fail to comply face severe consequences, including public shaming, loss of privileges, or complete ostracization from their own families. One of the most disturbing aspects of Gloria Vale is the systemic psychological and emotional abuse that former members have reported. Women are expected to be entirely submissive to male leaders, and questioning authority is met with swift punishment. The environment fosters deep-rooted fear, making it nearly impossible for members to imagine a life outside the community. For those who do manage to leave, the aftermath is often devastating. Survivors struggle with severe psychological trauma, difficulty reintegrating into society, and a deep sense of identity confusion. Many have described feeling like outsiders in the world because they were never given the tools to function independently. Without proper education, work experience, or social skills, their journey to freedom is filled with obstacles. These real-life cases reveal a chilling truth. Spiritual manipulation doesn't just control minds, it steals lives, breaks families and leaves deep emotional scars. But the damage isn't just emotional, it can have severe long-term effects on mental health, which we will explore in the next section. Segment 3. Psychological impact. Spiritual manipulation doesn't just control behavior, it deeply affects the mental health of those who experience it. People who escape from manipulative spiritual environments often suffer from lasting psychological and emotional damage that can take years, even decades, to heal. One of the most common effects is chronic anxiety and depression. When someone has been conditioned to believe that any doubt, questioning, or deviation from the group's rules will lead to punishment or suffering, they develop a constant sense of fear and guilt. Even after leaving, former members often struggle with unexplained guilt, a feeling that they are betraying something sacred, even when they rationally know they are free. This internal conflict can lead to severe depression, self-doubt, and difficulty trusting others. Another major consequence is post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). Many survivors experience flashbacks, nightmares, and panic attacks related to their time in the group. The extreme fear tactics, psychological abuse, and social isolation create trauma patterns similar to those experienced by people who escape abusive relationships or war zones. The fear of punishment, rejection, or divine retribution doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers, affecting their ability to live normal, independent lives. Identity confusion is another deep-rooted struggle for those who leave manipulative religious environments. Many of these groups strip individuals of their personal identity, forcing them to conform to a collective mindset where independent thinking is discouraged. When they finally break free, they are left with a haunting question: who am I? Outside of this group, rebuilding a sense of self can be one of the most difficult parts of recovery. Without a clear identity, many ex-members feel lost and disconnected from the world around them. Dr. Stephen Hassan, a leading expert on cult psychology, explains that manipulative religious groups use psychological conditioning to break down a person's sense of self, making them easier to control. Once a person loses their ability to trust their own thoughts and instincts, they become entirely dependent on the group. This is why many people struggle to leave, even when they recognize the manipulation. They have been trained to believe they cannot survive outside of the system. The psychological impact of spiritual manipulation is profound, but healing is possible. The next section will explore how people can recover from these experiences, rebuild their lives, and reclaim their personal power. Segment 4. Recognizing the signs. Spiritual manipulation is often subtle, making it difficult to recognize when you're caught in it. However, certain red flags can signal that a group or leader is more focused on control than genuine spiritual growth. Understanding these signs can help protect yourself and others from falling into a manipulative environment. One of the most telling signs of a manipulative spiritual group is unquestioning obedience. In healthy spiritual communities, leaders welcome discussion, exploration, and even doubt as part of a person's personal growth. However, in manipulative groups, questioning is seen as disobedience or a lack of faith. Members are discouraged, sometimes even threatened, from asking tough questions or thinking for themselves. Leaders often demand absolute loyalty, making their word the ultimate authority, even above religious texts or personal convictions. Another major red flag is the us versus them mentality. These groups often convince members that they are special, chosen, or enlightened, while outsiders are lost, dangerous, or even evil. This creates a deep sense of dependency, where members believe that leaving the group means abandoning their faith, or facing extreme consequences. This division also strengthens control because members become isolated from differing perspectives, and only hear reinforcing messages from within the group. Suppression of dissent is another clear warning sign. In manipulative groups, any form of criticism is met with hostility, punishment, or expulsion. Members who question leadership may be shamed, publicly humiliated, or labeled as weak in faith. In some cases, they are cut off from their families, friends, or support systems to prevent their doubts from spreading to others. This environment traps individuals in a cycle of fear, making it extremely difficult to break free. Recognizing these signs is the first step, but taking protective measures is just as important. One of the best defenses against spiritual manipulation is critical thinking. Always question, research, and analyze teachings. No belief system should discourage independent thought. Another key protective measure is to seek external perspectives. If a group discourages you from reading outside sources, talking to non-members, or exploring alternative viewpoints, that is a major red flag. Healthy spirituality allows for personal exploration, while manipulation thrives on controlled information. Lastly, it's essential to maintain personal boundaries. Be cautious of any group that tries to control your personal decisions, such as your relationships, career choices, finances, or medical decisions. Spirituality should uplift and empower, not strip you of your autonomy. If a leader or group pressures you into blind obedience, extreme sacrifices, or cutting off relationships, it's time to reevaluate their intentions. Segment 5. Steps to recovery. Breaking free from spiritual manipulation is a challenging and deeply personal journey. Many who leave these environments experience a mix of relief, fear, confusion, and guilt. The psychological impact can be long-lasting, but with the right support, healing is possible. One of the most effective steps toward recovery is seeking therapeutic support. Mental health professionals, especially those experienced in cult recovery or religious trauma, can help individuals process their experiences, identify harmful thought patterns, and rebuild a sense of self. Therapy can also help address anxiety, depression, PTSD, and other emotional scars left by manipulation. In addition to therapy, connecting with support groups can be incredibly healing. Speaking with others who have gone through similar experiences helps survivors realize they are not alone. Many ex-members of high-control religious groups feel alienated or misunderstood, but finding a community that understands their struggles can be empowering and validating. Support groups provide a safe space to share stories, offer encouragement, and work through challenges together. Another crucial part of recovery is rebuilding identity. Many survivors leave manipulative groups feeling lost and unsure of who they are. They have spent years, sometimes their entire lives, being told what to believe, how to think, and what their purpose should be. Learning to explore personal interests, rediscover values, and establish new beliefs is a key step in regaining independence. Whether it's pursuing education, engaging in hobbies, or forming new relationships, every step away from the past helps in reclaiming one's true self. Psychological trauma specialists emphasize that both emotional and cognitive healing are necessary after leaving a manipulative spiritual environment. These groups don't just influence emotions, they reshape how individuals think and perceive reality. This is why reprogramming harmful beliefs and rebuilding self-trust are just as important as emotional healing. The journey to recovery is not easy, but it is possible. By seeking support, embracing personal growth, and reclaiming control over their lives, survivors can move forward with strength and clarity. Breaking free from manipulation is not just about leaving a group, it's about rediscovering personal power and choosing a path of true freedom. Spiritual manipulation is a serious issue that deeply affects people's mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. It strips individuals of their autonomy, identity, and ability to think independently, often leaving lasting psychological scars. However, awareness is the key to breaking free. Recognizing the red flags, questioning controlling narratives, and seeking support can help individuals regain control of their lives. True spirituality should empower, not imprison. Trust your instincts, educate yourself, and never be afraid to seek the truth. No belief system should demand blind obedience or fear-based loyalty. Genuine faith allows room for growth, exploration, and personal choice. If you or someone you know has been affected by spiritual manipulation, reach out to support organizations, mental health professionals, or survivor communities. You are not alone, and help is available. For more eye-opening content on mental and emotional well-being, subscribe to our channel and share this video to spread awareness. Together, we can expose the truth and empower those seeking freedom.